When I think about all the different transitions that organizations go through over a 20-year history, and obviously there have been many of them in your organization, you talked about your number one employee, Warren, who's still with you today, and you probably have others that have made a long stretch of that journey with you as well. But talk about why you think the first guy you hired is still with you today, 20 years later, because that's big in today's markets.
He's not very sharp, clearly. That's the key. No, yeah.
We're going to make sure Warren's tuned in to this program, by the way.
Yeah. One of the things that I stumbled on early is I'm a passionate guy. I'm passionate for the power sports industry. I get excited about my job and the company and the people I work with. I've always tried to hire people that are passionate. And old number one, Warren, is a passionate guy. This is a guy that loves his family and that loves the outdoors, and he loves power sports. And so we had a common bond there. So as we developed products, he was genuinely interested in those products. And as the company has grown, I've watched him over the past 20 years, his kids grow up and now they're married and have kids, and but yet those passions that drove Warren early on and that drove me, they still exist. And so he I think he genuinely enjoys the business that we're in. He still has contact with some of our oldest customers. They know that if they really, we have 140 some odd employees, and if there's a question that one of our key customers is looking for an answer, they know they can still go into shipping and call Warren, and I think there's something to be said for that. He's got a vested interest in the company. I think he enjoys the people, the process, and the industry we're in.
Sure. Dave, you got a comment?
Yeah, I want to touch on that just because, the 20 years is great. You got somebody that's been working for you for 20 years. The one thing that I've run into a lot is I'll be working with a business owner, and they've got people that have been working with them for 10, 15, 20 years that shouldn't be. So it's not just the fact that they've been there for 10, 15, 20 years isn't the right barometer. I always like to use this one. Okay, so the first question I got for you with Warren is, given an option right now today, would you enthusiastically rehire him?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that answer. That's the big thing, is if you can look at somebody that's been working with you for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years, would you enthusiastically rehire them? If you would, you've got an all-star employee. You need more like them. If you wouldn't, why are they still there?
And it's very rare. I have very few folks that have been with us, none as long as Warren, but I mean, we've had a number of folks that were with us in the early days and are no longer with us now, and I think that's fairly natural, and you'll read about that in a number of business books where the legacy type employees, they knew the way things were done in the old days and they liked it, and as the organization grew and the demands of the organization grew, their role had to change. They could no longer be a hybrid where they wore 4 different hats in a given day. They had to specialize, and oftentimes that's a difficult transition.
They oftentimes don't grow with your business. That's because
right.
they're looking for a job, something they can, a punch in, punch out kind of a thing. And if they're going to grow with your business, it's got to be more than that.
Right.
And they've got to have the passion that he's talking about the business. And if you don't have those people, if you have people that just want the job, your ability, your success is limited by those people. I mean, I've had clients that once they got rid of those people, their business grew 20, 30% almost immediately just because they didn't have that limiting factor in there anymore.
Right.
Well, part of where I was going even with that comment initially was that there are a number of organizations that we visit with, and obviously we know that change in your employee group is going to happen as your organization transgresses over time. But I didn't mean transgresses, but as you move forward over time. Yeah, so that was the wrong word. But anyway, so as your organization grows, that core group of people is going to change too, because we know how resistant to change people just naturally are.
Yes.
And we're visiting with business owners all the time that, we see the owner themselves as being the biggest stumbling block to growth of their. So if the guy who's on the top, who benefits the most by growth resists it, well, then how much more are people in the organization who don't see that big picture going to resist it too? But at the same token, when we talk to people who basically have, the front door is almost a fan, people are moving in and out of it so quickly, coming in and going out of the organization, and they start to talk to you about these healthy dynamics, my BS meter goes off in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Because I'm going, if nobody wants to stay with you for even any amount of time,
right.
We think we know where the problem is, and it isn't with bad employees.
No, top down.
You ever noticed, like people that you hang around with, your friends, they have a lot of the same interests. They're kind of like you. They do similar things. There's the theory, like hangs around with like. Well, it works the same way with employees. You get employees that are more like you. You hire employees that are more like you. I've worked with a business owner. I got one of them. We were doing a group interview, hiring an assistant specifically for him because he's a really driven, really high energized person, but he's extremely disorganized. Okay, and he needs some organization, some control in his business to smooth it out, and in order for him to grow. And we're doing this group interview, and we get done, and we're talking about him afterwards. And he says, "Well, I want that one." And I said, "No, you don't." He's like, "Yeah, she was great." No, she was you.
Yeah, she's unorganized.
We don't want anything to do with her.